really knew anything about it, I was attracted to the idea of philosophy. I thought of it as a practical subject that could make a real difference, that might have wise things to say about everyday worries, like being rejected in love, or failing in a job, or not having any friends. Philosophy promised something that might sound a little naive, but was in fact rather profound, a way to learn to be happy. And as I found out more, I discovered that there were 6 philosophers I was particularly interested in, because they had the wisest things to say about the areas of life I'd always found rather problematic.
The first problem that I came to Rome to try and find an answer for was anger. And you only have to spend a few minutes in the city to realize that anger is a massive problem.
Modern life is full of frustration, and most of us don't seem able to respond very philosophically to it. We're prone to losing our tempers. Anger seems as much a part of our lives today as bad driving and traffic jams. So it's interesting to discover that in ancient times, anger was felt to be an even greater problem than it is now. Ancient Romans were, if anything, angrier than modern ones.
And we find one ancient philosopher who was particularly concerned with anger and wanted to calm people down. He was born in Cordoba, province of Spain, in 1 AD, and his name was Sêneca.
Sêneca was the most famous and popular philosopher of his day, the author of more than 20 books of practical advice about all aspects of life. He came to Rome as a boy and spent most of his life here, becoming influential in politics and a member of the Roman Senate. But that doesn't mean that his life was free from frustration. He was naturally a rather melancholy man who suffered from tuberculosis as a youth and was prone to almost suicidal bouts of depression. And he lived in very dangerous times. His political career coincided with the reign of a series of despotic, violent and unpredictable rulers. Sêneca was moving in a world where he literally couldn't know what would happen to him tomorrow. The ground was unstable beneath his feet. In 49 AD, he had to take on, against his will, the most fateful job in the imperial administration, tutor to a 12-year-old boy called Lucius Domitius Ahenobarbus, the future Emperor Nero. It soon became clear that Nero was a murderous psychopath. Knowing he was in extreme danger, Sêneca attempted to withdraw from court. Twice he offered Nero his resignation. Twice the emperor refused, embracing Sêneca tightly and saying that he would rather die than harm his beloved tutor. Nothing in Sêneca's experience encouraged him to believe such promises.
It's by wandering around the rooms here in Nero's underground palace that you begin to get a sense of just why Sêneca was so worried about anger. Nero was a man who had absolute power. People were brought down to these chambers and the most horrific mass murders went on. He would have Romans thrown to the lions, decapitated, eaten by crocodiles, and torn apart alive. Virgins were seized off the streets of Rome, were brought here, murdered. Gladiators who hadn't performed well were disemboweled and thrown to wolves, all in these underground chambers. It was because the consequences of anger were so great that Sêneca was desperate to assuage them. An angry Roman emperor was not just an unpleasant sight, he was potentially a catastrophic phenomenon.
You ain't turning right there, mate, are you? Whoa, dodgy.
Having seen so much of it at first hand, Sêneca thought anger a terrible problem. He even devoted a whole book entitled On Anger to the subject. The most hideous and frenzied of all emotions, he called it. But, crucially, he refused to see it as an irrational outburst, something over which we had no control.
What kind of things make you really angry? What kind of things make you angry on the road?
Oh, pretty much inconsiderate. Inconsiderate driving, people who don't... Well, they must have passed their test, otherwise they wouldn't be driving like cars. But, I mean, the way they drive doesn't say that they've got any idea about driving in England or driving on any road anywhere, surely. They veer across lanes, they just suddenly have no regard for anybody else, just pull up and park. They can't reverse, you know, they can't park.
So what are your favourite insults? If someone's done something really bad on the road, what do you like to call them?
With gesticulations, basically just explode for that moment in time, like just clear me air, clear me head.
Have you ever got out of your car and actually hit someone?
I did threaten to hit a geezer. He opened his door to put his seatbelt on.
Yeah.
And I just crumpled his door, but it cut my finger like that. And
Wayne Allingham is a driver with a delivery company. He finds it difficult to control his temper when he's on the road. He doesn't think there's much he can do about it. Sêneca would have disagreed.
So he says, oh, I can call the police to see that he's going to hit me.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Rode myself to the hospital, put the needle through the finger, to just squirt blood out. That sort of sobered me up a bit as well. I was pretty angry. Oh, here we go.
What's going on?
Sêneca thought that anger was a philosophical problem and amenable to treatment by philosophical argument. Anger arose from certain rationally held ideas about the world.
Come on, mate, there's a car. What's it? Sorry, hey. That's all right.
And the problem with these ideas is that they're far too optimistic.
Where are you going? Can't you see that?
In Seneca's analysis, people get angry because they're too hopeful.
Yeah. Come on, mate.
Do you think you'd describe yourself more as an optimist or as a pessimist?
Oh, optimist. Gotta be.
Optimist, yeah. But anyway, don't you think that being optimistic, you're permanently expecting that other people are going to drive in a better way? You know, other people can't drive.
No.
You're not able to drive.
You can go for days without an incident. You think everything's getting better. The next thing you know, you come out and you see someone's done your van. And if it's a little car and they cut you, think take your life, especially when they got kids in the back.
Hang on.
And
How long have you been driving a van?
A van, 2 years.
I've been driving a van 2 years. Every day.
Yeah.
Every day someone cuts you up, someone does something stupid,
Yeah.
right? And yet every time you get surprised and you get angry. In a way, it's like you're surprised that this thing has happened again. Do you think it might be a good idea to kind of get more pessimistic about other drivers? Because then you sort of calm down about their driving. Like if you told yourself, other people just can't drive.
Whenever we get angry, there's an element of surprise and a sense of self-pitying and justice. What Sêneca would say to Wayne is that traffic jams and bad driving are neither unfair nor surprising. They're a predictable feature of life. The person who gets angry about them simply has the wrong expectation